for Town Supervisor in alphabetical order. Bill Braheny, running on the Democratic line, and Vincent DeLucia. Are we saying Vince tonight? Is that good?
Whatever, I've been called a lot of names. Both as a school teacher, a principal, and as supervisor, I've heard a variety of names, so whatever you're comfortable with. Vince is fine.
Vince is fine, all right. Now it is time to hear their opening statements of no more than 2 minutes. They have drawn lots. And first we will hear from Vincent. Vince.
Approximately 2 years ago, I was here for the first time, and no question about it, very nervous, very difficult, did not know all the intricacies of running or operating a supervisorship for a town, especially one as active as the town of Malta, so I certainly understand how difficult it is for Mr. Braheny, and I wish you the best of everything. I'm a lifelong resident of the town of Malta, and I grew up in a small business with very hardworking, loving parents and 2 brothers. Through all the hard work, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, I learned a lot about work ethic, and our whole family did. And through this, I managed to achieve through life, moving on, becoming a school administrator, school principal at Saratoga schools, excuse me, for 25 years. And through that experience as an administrator and a leader, I decided, because I lived here in Malta all my life, and my wife of over 50 years, and we lived here together, raised 3 daughters, have 3 wonderful sons-in-laws, and 3.5 grandchildren. One is on the way from February. Through this leadership and administration and the commitment to the town of Malta, I chose to run for town supervisor so I could manage all this to the benefit of the town. For the past 22 months, I used my professional leadership experience to fulfill my campaign pledges, and I feel that I have done that, and they are keeping Malta free of town tax, become more business friendly, strengthen our ethics laws and holding public officials accountable for our actions, including myself, establish responsible zoning that promotes economic development. Well, I got to stop where you can tell that I was married for over 50 years, and I know when I'm told to stop, I stop.
Thank you, Vince. Bill.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Vince, for partaking in this. Thank you, Vince, for partaking in this with me. I think this is...
Is it on?
A little bit closer. Is it on? Yeah. Okay, a little bit closer.
Try it again. It's not being used against me.
And I didn't sabotage that, by the way.
Thank you very much, League of Women Voters, Vince, all of you coming out. I want to take this just to introduce myself. I am the Democratic candidate, and I think it's important that I bring that out because many of you maybe have never voted for a Democrat. And what my purpose tonight is to get you to know me a little bit better, and it won't be so scary. I have lived in this town for 32 years, not as long as Vince, but as my wife points out, we got here as quick as we could. We stayed for 32 years, we've raised 3 sons. If I haven't coached one of your children, you probably played on one of my son's teams, or my wife volunteered when Ellsworth Commons was going up and they said there would be no impact to the school district, or very minimal. So as a family, we've been very active in the community. I've coached. I was involved in Odyssey of the Mind. I've taught religion in Corpus Christi. I taught religion in St. Mary's. I'm just a very typical resident of Malta. I've lived here for many years, but I think what I bring to the table is my business career. I'm in insurance and financial planning. And I was talking to Kevin Schaefer, who's president of the school board over in Boston Spa, and we've known each other for years, and he says, I'm kind of surprised. And I says, Kevin, what I do for a living, what I do every single day, those skills that I've developed, I think are ideal for a town supervisor. I sit down and I listen to what people's concerns and fears are, what their dreams and ambitions are. Then I take into account what the
Excuse me, Bill, but your time is up. Can you just finish that thought, please, and then...
I take in their assets, their strengths, and their weaknesses. I come up with a plan, their plan, and I implement it, and I make sure it works for them, and we tweak it over time. Thank you.
Okay. What?
Could Bill move his sign just a little so that when I'm filming, I get to see his name? I need it that way, a little bit more, yeah. Thank you, because he's talking and I get Vince's sign, and that's...
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks.
All right, the first question. You ready for questions? Excuse me. Okay. The first question will go to Vince. And you're going to have more of a chance to expound on your ideas, I think. Because we're talking about good governance. What experience do you have in public administration and budgeting?
Many years of public administration, obviously. I mentioned over 25 years I was a school principal and an administrator in the Shenandoah School District. After retiring, I was heavily recruited to fill in a number of different school districts, both at the high school level, middle school level, and elementary level, in different school districts, Saratoga Springs several times, Cambridge, Washington County, a number of different times, Waterford Half Moon School District, so a lot of experience in terms of administration. In terms of budgeting, as a school administrator, obviously each individual school, and especially the size of Shenandoah District, you are responsible for your school building budget, ranging from the salaries and of individuals, as well as the costs of books and supplies, materials, furniture, etc. So extensive amount of experience. And also, this past year, built and prepared and presented a budget for the town of Malta, a $10.2 million budget, with a reduction of $120,000 in expenditures over the year, and actually which will result in a little bit of a reduction to each individual homeowner in terms of their tax bill. Excuse me, although we don't have a town tax, and it is the 34th year now that we will be without a general town tax, and 17th year with no highway tax.
Thank you, Vince.
Okay. I'll try to stay at the time. As far as public budgeting, none. I've always worked in the private sector. I've been successful in the private sector, but I have sat down with wealthy families, middle-income families, and people with limited resources. I've also sat down with business owners who have large estates. The principles of budgeting, maximizing your resources, and staying within those programs are pretty similar in the private industry as it is in the public. I do not have any public experience. I've been in the private industry all the time.
Okay, thank you. All right, the first question next will go to Bill first. And we're talking about public safety. The citizens of Malta have continuously expressed a concern for highway safety. What have you done on committees or etc., or what will you do in the future to create a safer town for pedestrians, bicyclists, and motorists?
Great question, and something that, right, it comes up a lot when you go knocking on doors and talking to people and listening to what their concerns are. Let's use Route 67 as an example. I was at Malta Day over the town park, and I was talking to State Senator Jim Tedisco, and I said to him, I really appreciate the work that you've done with the town on reducing speed limits, because him and Assemblywoman Warner also worked on that. And I said to him, we need to work on that, and he said, oh, we already took care of it. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, we paved it all the way from Boston Spot out to the county line. And I says, no, Route 67 is a dangerous road. And he was completely taken back by it. And I was taken back that he was taken back by it. I will work with the county, the state, and if necessary, the federal government to get the resources in here that we need to have the type of town where we deserve. It's not like we don't pay enough taxes. It's not like we don't pay enough taxes to go off to Albany or to Washington. We need to be proactive in utilizing what is already out there. I think, all due respect, that we've kind of missed the boat on what is available to us to maximize our experience in this town.
Thank you, Bill. Vince?
Thank you. Actually, for the past couple of years, I have actually been approaching the Department of Transportation for a number of things in terms of highway safety. Number one is with the assistance of Assemblywoman Werner. We got a bill produced in the state. You heard Councilman Hartzell talk about that a little bit earlier, about lowering the speed limit on town roadways. Another issue is that, and due to be hopefully signed by the governor to go through in the next week or two. The second thing is that, I have contacted state police and the sheriff on a number of occasions, and they have increased the road patrols, thus writing many more speeding tickets. And of course, unfortunately now with the opioid epidemic throughout New York State and Saratoga County, this area has taken more police attention. We've also approached for doing some things to widening and straightening out Route 67. Those are some of the things that we have already done, myself along with a couple of other council members. Obviously, more needs to be done. A lot of it is in the hands of the Department of Transportation, and they have, for example, taken a look at the $22 million that would cost to improve Route 67, and it's a matter of more federal money also. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vince. And I think we have a red card.
That means I can.
That means you can speak now.
I can speak for how long?
Oh,
A minute and a half.
A minute and a half. Okay. I agree with everything that Vince says. What I would bring to the table,
Can you hear?
what I would bring to the table is people that have worked with me have referred to me as a bulldog. I do not take no. Maybe that's because I've been in the private industry for so long that when you get to say, we don't have the money, I don't go away. I keep on knocking on the door. I was talking to a person that lives down at Saratoga Lake, and she belongs to the Lake Association. And there's crumbling in the county around, I think it's 9P or something, one of the roads there. And the town supervisors, the county supervisors went to the state and said, we need help. And they said, there's no money. And I went, okay. Not if I am elected and also sitting on the county board. I'm not going to take the first no, go away, we don't have any money. Because we all know there's money in Albany. We just make sure that we get the right ratio coming back to us.
okay. We're done with that. Right. The next question will go first to Vince. And part of the supervisor's job is to work at the county level. What more can be done through the County Board of Supervisors to promote more shared planning and shared projects between neighboring towns?
Can you, there was a little bit that faded out on me toward the end.
Okay. What more can be done through the county board to promote more shared planning and shared projects between neighboring towns?
Well, Town Supervisor Ed Kadowski in the town of Stillwater and I have already started working together along with a couple of the other surrounding town supervisors to start pressing for more involvement in building and improving the infrastructure at the Luther Forest Tech campus so that we can encourage more of the supply chain type of industries and businesses that we would like moving in. One example, for example, is Arnoff that recently moved in, which is a big employer, and we're very proud of that. But we are doing a great deal to start working more and more together. Another thing when you said what more can be done is encouraging more between the Prosperity Partnership, which is funded by the County Board of Supervisors, and there are a couple of other organizations that support improving business climate and encouraging businesses and economic development, as well as investments in our townships and our county. So those are a couple of things that, some of us have already spearheaded and started doing, and a couple of things that we're taking a look at that could be done moving forward, getting groups to work together and not competitive.
Thank you, Vince. Bill?
Thank you. I think one thing that would help on the county board is diversity. And what I mean by diversity is maybe when everybody, I think as Thomas Jefferson said, when everybody agrees on the same thing, there probably isn't any thinking going on. And if we got just different voices, different aspects of the diversity that we have in this town represented in a county board meeting of what's important, what is stressing us out. Again, keep listening from different perspectives. I think there's a lot of work, and I think that many, over the years, 32 years, Malta might have been the little quiet sister in the back of the room. Saratoga Springs has a big voice. Wilton is starting to get a very big voice. I want Malta to step up and take its rightful spot in the county. We're one of the fastest, if not the fastest growing portion of the county, in one of the fastest growing counties. We need a different approach. We need a more assertive, proactive approach to bring back home to our fellow residents.
Okay, and it looks like we have a red card.
Yes, I was just going to say that a lot goes on behind the scenes at County Board of Supervisors meetings, and believe me, there are a lot of diverse opinions, and not everything is kumbaya. There are a lot of hard conversations. Sometimes, unfortunately, gets heated and debated, and even accusations back and forth. And there's a lot of diverse opinions, and obviously each of us, it's our responsibility as supervisors to represent our town, individual towns, as best that we could. And at the same time, there are times when we do have to come together, work together, and need to agree on things. It's the only way that you can move forward and get things done. And we are working harder to do more of that.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Vince. Next question goes first to Bill. Yeah, Bill. Regarding taxes, what strategies do you have to increase revenue for the town? For example, would you institute a town tax?
At this point, I will say no. Okay, it is ridiculous to walk in to a new job, and it's like walking into someone's home and telling them you need to do this right away until you sit down and you look at what the situation is. I believe, all due to the current board and the town supervisor, we need to grow our commercial segment, okay? I am not against commercial development, which is kind of funny. There was a robo survey that came over, and I picked it up, and they were talking about a quote that I made that I'm against commercial development. I am not against commercial development. I want to make that perfectly clear. I just want smart commercial development. And I use this analogy, just because somebody asked you to the dance doesn't mean you should go to the dance with them. It gets back to that proactive. We need to pick and choose what we want Malta to look like, not have developers and people with money looking at us and drooling, I can make a quick buck here.
Thank you, Bill. All right. Vince?
At the beginning of the introduction, I had mentioned that over the past 22 months that I had introduced a number of changes, and of course with the support of good cooperative town board. We've made Malta more business friendly. We've established responsible zoning that promotes economic development while also protecting the rural areas. Excuse me. And I've been working to build a smart, well-balanced plan for future growth in Malta. Now, along those lines, more directly, the question is no. I would certainly not support a town tax, a general town tax. In fact, the budget this year, the second year of my supervisorship, presented a budget where our strategy, my strategy that I promoted with our town, has worked. We increased our income by $500,000, $500,000 through the county sales tax benefit by the promotion of more economic development, smart economic development. Naturally, we would like our community to be more available to provide more jobs, good jobs for people in the community, not only to live here, but also to work and shop. But it's through that process, and it does take a while before it starts to catch on, and it already has. Last year, okay, I see that I got the hook.
Okay, so we're ready for the next question, unless anyone has a red card. Okay. Concerning development, what will you do to restrict multi-county development?
That question,
I
me?
believe Vincent is first.
We've already taken some action where we have a committee that's been studying, along with our planning department, what to do in terms of limiting the multi-family density, population density within the form-based code area. One of the recommendations is, in fact, it is a recommendation that's on board right now, is no more than 15 units per acre. And we're going to obviously be massaging that recommendation to see what more can be done. Again, though, these kinds of things do take time because we're dealing with some codes and laws. So that's one of the things that we're doing. We're being more cautious with our planning department and zoning, the zoning for more balanced, smart growth. I mentioned that earlier. And so those are the kinds of things that we're taking a look at. Mr. Braheny mentioned diversity at the County Board of Supervisors, and we're working more towards some greater diversity right within our downtown area, right, and not just a lot of multiple family dwellings. And we heard earlier with our other candidates about more affordable housing. Affordable housing, I said, not low-income housing. So.
Thank you.
Could you read the question over again?
Oh. Yes. All right, regarding development, what will you do to restrict multi-county development?
Multi-county,
That's what it
multi-family.
says. It says
Multi-family.
Oh, you
That's my
meant,
question.
okay,
Multi-family apartments?
Multi-family development, not multi-family.
okay. Oh, I'm sorry, we wrote the question because we couldn't understand your
That's
writing,
why I
I'm
asked
sorry.
you over again.
You know what, that was one of the advantages of my not hearing you correctly. I thought you said multifamily, okay.
I can see that's what it says
Probably.
now.
Well, it sounded to me multifamily, I didn't hear about I haven't never heard the expression multi-county.
If you could read the question with family in the word.
Start over.
Oh, yeah, we haven't done that.
Okay, so Vince, you're going to start again.
No, he answered.
I quite frankly, I had never heard.
He understood what the question, the meaning of the question. Well, I was the one that did
Okay,
it.
we're all together on this, right?
I just thought it was multifamily. I never heard of multi-county housing.
I didn't
I mean, if there is multi-county housing, boy, somebody's traveling a lot to get to their home.
It's a big housing development.
Sorry about that.
A little confusion on this thing, but I think I understand the purpose of the question. And I do support. I was at that meeting. It was a rather long one, and you did a good job trying to keep all the cats in the herd. But I do agree that there should be codes and they should be enforced. I'm not in favor of passing a code, and I think you brought this up, passing a code or a law that you already put a loophole in. So if you're going to go 15 units, let's go 15 units. If you're going to go above that, take the time, do it right, do it once, and do it right that time. So we're in agreement on that.
All right.
You should become a Republican.
That'd be scary.
I just got that.
That's what we're saying.
Yeah, I'll do it, Bill.
Okay?
Go ahead.
We should do a
All
large
right,
party.
next question, we'll go first to Bill. We're talking about video audio taping. How do you feel about having town board meetings videotaped and audio taped?
In principle, I have nothing against it. I can see some advantages to it, but I would really like to, a caveat to that. The quick answer is, I don't have a problem with it. Caveat is, I wish more people showed up at those meetings. There's nothing like being there live. And I'm grateful of all you people that showed up. And to be quite frank, I was worried if there were people that would show up. If there was one person here, I would do it because I believe this is part of democracy. And anything that brings in more people, I'm in favor for. What I would like to add on, because I heard the question originally, when it was to the board people, does that include executive
No,
sessions?
no.
We need to be less executive sessions. I know there are reasons for it, personnel and stuff like that. It seems we do that way too often. That's my answer. Yes, I would be in favor.
Okay, Vince?
I'm wholeheartedly in support of it, and I can assure you that our town clerk, when she is trying to complete the minutes, would be very supportive of it also.
Not to particular job.
Council, well, she would still have to record the minutes. Councilman Hartzell, who's not here, is one of those people who, during these town board meetings, very soft-spoken, so I wish I could pass this message on to him, that would be helpful so that we can repeat every thing when it's been recorded. Sometimes we have to ask him to speak up, but it's a great idea. Now, in terms of executive sessions, many of the executive sessions we've had lately are not executive, but rather attorney-client privilege, because we are dealing with a number of legal situations that our town attorney has requested that we need to talk about. And no, of course, none of those, nor executive sessions where we speak about specific behaviors or performance of employees or staff cannot be in executive sessions, nor would legal matters that we're talking about in attorney-client privilege be able to be recorded.
Okay, thank you, Vince. The next question will go first to you, Vince. Concerning education, does the town intend to discuss the possibility of new elementary school in the BSCSD?
Well, yes, as a matter of fact, we have made some had some conversations with some of the school officials, but keep in mind that is really a decision that the local school district and school board has to make. They have a lot of responsibilities in terms of their efficiency of busing, transporting students, the timing of picking youngsters up, taking them to school, their own local budgets, and student population, pockets of population. Plus, if they have a campus and plenty of land for another school, why would they look for purchasing land here? It would be a great idea, and I would like to see it happen, but I think it's going to take some time before the school district would necessarily determine that need.
Thank you, Vince. Bill?
Okay, I'm glad we got this question, because I have spoken to past presidents of the Boston Spa School Board, resident of Malta, 2 of them, and there have been studies and there have been proposals brought forth to the town showing little to no economic impact on the town or the school board. I would imagine that is funded. I do not know all the details, but that would be something that I would one of the top things on my agenda to look at. I think that really helps with the cohesiveness of a town. And if we can do it economically and efficiently, it's got many pluses to it, because there are parents, particularly one of the areas that we're looking to put it was across from daycare. It would cut down on congestion, it would cut down on costs to the school district running those buses back and forth. I think it has many pluses and would be something that I would be very happy to dig up that study. We do a lot of studies around here and they seem to get tossed. But that's something I would be very interested in.
Thank you, Bill. And the first question, the first response will come from you this time. Concerning public policy, many seniors in Malta struggle to pay taxes, maintain their property, and stay involved in the growing community. What ideas do you have to help this aging part of our community?
Aging citizens in Malta. I actually, a little bit about me. My father-in-law and mother-in-law live with us. I have first-hand knowledge of what the hardships are for senior citizens. They are 93 and 90 years old. That is a multifaceted solution. There's not one quick answer to that. One of them would be developing housing that they could afford. Okay? And I know that we are making strides to that. But then they need to get around town. And that leads to congestion. It has to be a multi-pronged approach to it that has to do with density, availability of resources, and encouraging developers, the right type of developers that will come in. I also know that there is, for workforce housing and senior citizen housing, there is federal grant money out there that other towns in this county are actively going after. I would do that too.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Vince?
For starters, we have a very active seniors group in the town of Malta, and the budget that I proposed this year has a substantial amount of money in there, not as much as I would like. We have to balance a budget for seniors programs and discounts, not only for activities here in the community center and classes and programs, but also to assist with transporting seniors who need some help. By the way, I'd like to point something out. Take a look at me. I'm not that far from being a senior, so I'd like to do as much as we can. So to help out. But that, by the way, is just my sense of humor. I hope you recognize that. One of the things when we were talking about multifamily, lowering the number of units in multifamily to 15, we included in there talk about incentive zoning, especially specifically mentioned for seniors, senior housing. By the way, I'd like to point out that just recently found out today that we procured from Senator Tedesco's office a $100,000 grant. It's not publicly official yet, but it will be for, yeah, it will be now, and that's all right, they did say that I can mention that at least locally to the town board for increasing the sidewalks south of the main circle here. That would help the seniors and, okay, time.
Okay, thank
I
you.
had some more to mention about that, but that's okay.
You got a red
No,
card?
no, that's all right. She said no time.
But you have a red card if you
No,
want.
that's all
No,
right.
okay.
Perhaps bring it up at the end. Thank you.
Okay, you will be first to respond, Vince, for this question. What is your main concern for Malta?
I have several main concerns. Number one, quite frankly, is I do not want us to be a one industry town. That's global foundries. Number one, we need to do all that we can to increase the, again, I mentioned commercial investments in the town, mostly in Luther Forest Tech campus. Excuse me. I think that we need to be very leery of putting all of our eggs in one global basket, so to speak. We need to improve supply chain industries that can help keep global foundries active and busy. We need other kinds of industries here in a reasonable, balanced way. We also, when I say balance, I hear almost consistently an awful lot of people who live in the town suggest that we need at least one other type of a supermarket in the town, one chain. They've mentioned some good ones. We've been working on that, but we've been encouraging more, if you will, the right kinds of industry that would help us out in this regard.
Thank you, Vince. Bill?
I would say my biggest concern is that we have a great opportunity here. I was at the farewell party for the superintendent of Boston Spa Schools, Joe. He has done a fabulous job in the past 9 years. The connection between the education and the tech park and Hudson Valley Community College is just magnificent. And the next